Hey YouTube, it's Jurrac Master again with Jurrac Talk number 7. So listen up guys, I really want these Jurrac Talks to be like my most popular video segments on YouTube because I think they're probably the most helpful to Jurrac players and maybe even non-Jurrac players out there too. Got a lot of stuff that's just good in the format, good cards to consider maining or siding or whatever. So I really just want to help you guys out with your Jurrac decks mainly, but if you have other decks, I hope that these can be of use to you. You might even want to splash a few of the Jurracs in that I've shown, or use some of the strategies I have that don't involve Jurracs even. They're all pretty good strategies. They work pretty well, especially in the format we have right now. It's what I'm trying to keep up with, is what we're seeing as main decks and what strategies work well against them and in the format because of them. So I'm seeing a lot of Tengu and whatever, agents and all that stuff, so I've been showing you guys, mainly at my locals it's gadgets. There's at least 2 gadget decks there every week. I was running them for a while because I thought it was pretty fun. I was actually the second person at my locals, I think, to start running them. And then, after I started playing them, everyone else started too, so I just lost interest in having mirror matches all the time. So, I'm going back to running Jurracs again. It's way more fun deck, in my opinion, better. But, the only deck I lost to this week was Gadgets, so can't really say it's better. Just innately better. He topped pretty well against me, so we'll see how I do against him this week, especially with Exceeds out. He could probably abuse those too, like with a Utopia and Gadgets swarming me. So, on to the cards, you guys. First, I'd like to show you guys a combo. You got this active, Tyrant's Temper. So, you call the Haunted one of your people. Say, just for example, you take out your Jurrac Guaiba, and you want to get Call the Haunted back to use it again. So you use Zephyros effect. Send this back. Your monster is no longer affected by this destroying it. I was pretty sure that worked. I just wanted to double check, so I asked Lord Solar 6075. He said it works. I think it works, so until a judge says I can't do it, I'm going to say you can do this. So this goes back to your hand, you reset it. You can play it again. If you even want to, you could go into Utopia if it really matters to you there. So, it's a nice play to consider. Works with anyone as long as Tyrant's Temper is out. So if you're running Tyrant's Temper and Call of the Haunted, along with Zephyros, keep that in mind. Very nice move. I want to go over some of the reasons that the Jurrac Teledad deck works. Started calling it Father Jurrac because he got Dark Armed or Dad and the Jurracs. So, not the most creative name, but it beats Teledad Jurracs or Jurrac Teledad or whatever. So, you got 2 main guys that help pull this off. These guys, he dies, he can bring out another Velo, a Dino, or even this in defense position to deter their attack, or bounce the person if you want them to. And if they attack into it, it has to bounce. So, these 2 guys are really helpful. He maintains field presence, so you run 3. He's a level 4, so you make Utopias with him. And you just kind of plus off of that. Along with this actually gains you field presence, so a lot of times, if it's early game, I'll attack with him and go into another one. So next turn, I can kind of just bring out 2 level 3s, and then make my Grunnosaurus with them. So it's just a quick Grunnosaurus right there. You have a lot of level 3s that like to survive. You got the 2 Spirit Reapers in there and everything. And you don't run too many Dark Monsters. I think it was 10, including Dark Armed. So Dark Armed is pretty easy to manipulate the grave with. You have the Pot of Avarice in there just in case you get it later in the game and you can't play it and it ends up dead. So you want to have Pot of Avarice for a little more manipulation. Most of the ones that you play actually don't even end up in the grave. Mask of Darknesses do all that. Kinkabio does mainly when you let it die or you morphing jar it to the grave, but other than that it pretty much stays out. So, very good card. It gains you monsters that you can use to exceed summon, so you don't even need to synchro anymore, because that wastes your tuners, and it sends them to the grave. So a lot of times, you can manipulate the grave by taking out dark monsters from your grave, and then using them to make something like Rhinoceros or Utopia, and it keeps them out of the grave instead of them going back like if you synchro with them. And you can use these guys' effects to get them back into the grave when you need them to be. So, it's just more manipulation for Dark Armed, more good cards that you can bring out. You don't even need tuners. When we get more Exceeds, I might even try a deck with almost no synchros, just straight Exceed monsters in there. So, the deck has a lot more manipulation now, especially because Jurracs kind of give it to them. They gain field presence, maintain field presence, get rid of the opponent's field presence. I mean, they do everything. You can draw and get rid of Jurracs. I mean, you can do anything you want in this deck. And it just all leads to having a Dark Armed in there. You got the emergency teleport to teleport out people. Most of the time I don't even sync with them. I just kind of make a Grenosaurus, which is why I have 2 level 3s and 1 level 2 for Psychics, because I don't synchro with them as often. And when I do, it's usually into Bryonic, so that I can get rid of their back row, drop Dark Arm, and then get rid of the monsters with Dad. And then you got open field with Dark Armed and Bryo, maybe even more. You can bring out Zephyros in an instant to get rid of a monster from the grave. It's dark, and then you can send it back later, use his effect with it. It's got a lot of potential, guys. When we get more Exceeds, I will update it. Maybe a few main deck changes, but for the most part, I would have to say it'll be extra deck changes you want to keep up with in this deck. Dark Armed Dragon is good. It never really got bad. It's just the support for it is a little less, so you see it less. But when people drop Dark Armed on you, it's not really fun, because typically when they have a Dark Armed, they have a lot more cards waiting for you. So you saw them warning the Dark Armed. They still got more coming, guys. Like in this deck, you can do that too. If you torrential it, I guess it kind of still works to get rid of everything, but they could probably still summon more. Like in this deck, I don't like to leave myself too open. Oh, another good Zephyros play is when you use Kinkabio to get back your Aolo. You can either send Aolo back to your hand, Kinkabio back to your hand, after tributing Aolo, so you don't get the Aolo removed. Just a note there, don't do it before tributing. Or you can get whatever back to hand you brought out. And then you have this out, and you have the other card in hand for when you want to play it later. Just so that way you don't have to risk losing Kinkabio the next turn. You can play it straight up with Aolo, or whatever monster you brought back. So, just a side note there with Zephyros. Very good card to play. If you're running the Father Jurrac build, go ahead and use those moves. Come up with your own. Tell me about any good combos you've pulled off with the deck if you play it. Just generally good deck. One last note. I have those 3 Reckless Greeds in there. I know it's a 44 card deck and I'm running these for draw power, but you have a lot of ways to thin out the deck, and the deck size isn't a problem. You have Sandkin to search, Morphing Jar to search, or not search, rather, to draw. These to get back those, draw more. You don't really stall yourself down with Reckless Greed. It's hurt me once with the deck out of, I think, 12 duels. It's working pretty well. I haven't been able to get Dueling Network videos up with these new decks for you because, as you know, Exceeds still aren't there. So, I think I've spent long enough on this. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope it's helpful. Guys, really try to watch all of these Jurrac Talk videos, and tell any of your Jurrac player friends, or any friends of yours that want to try to revive Teledad. They can try this build. They can try using my advice with a standard Teledad build. it's all working much better now that these things are out. Once we get more like Steel Swarm Roach and all those, it'll work even better. And the one I'm looking forward to more is the Evil Kaiser guy. He's just going to come out and be our second Solemn Judgment, so he's going to be real helpful. In this deck, he's going to be especially useful, but I'm going to put him in Jurrac. Obviously, he's just too good to not. So when he comes out, make sure you watch that. I will be trying to get it as soon as possible once it comes out. So keep updated with this, guys. So really, I really do need you guys to make sure that these become really popular. I think they're the most helpful segment on my channel. So I just want to make sure you guys can watch them and that they get seen so people can actually benefit from me being on YouTube. That's about it for this, guys. I hope it was helpful to you, and I'm going to try to put at least one of these Jurrac Talks up every week. As you know, this is 7, and I've only been on for about 2 weeks, so it's going pretty fast. So, alright guys, that's the end of the Jurrac Talk video. Keep watching for the next one. I hope it's even more helpful to you guys than this one was. See you, YouTube.